Vasudevaya. Narayanam namaskritya naram cha narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayamudiriye nashtuprayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttam shloke bhaktir bhavati naistike. So yesterday we discussed, let's continue our discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 7, Killing of the Demon Trinavrata. So yesterday we discussed how Krishna killed Shaktasura, the demon who had come in the form of the cart, and after that Yashoda Maya breastfed him, and Nanda Baba as a Brahmins to sacrifice and bless his son, and they did everything. So as we discussed earlier, that Bhaktivinoda Thakur has listed all these demons and compared them with some one or the other anartha in our heart. By reading these pastimes very sincerely, all those anarthas, because by chanting of the holy name, Krishna himself, Krishna's pastimes, they're not different. They're all on the same platform. So when we hear these pastimes or read these pastimes, if we have proper faith, then those respective anarthas, they get removed from our heart. So what does Shaktasura represent? Shaktasura represents different kinds of loads people carry. And because of these loads, they don't want to perform devotional service. Loads of opulence, beauty, load of knowledge, that I have too much knowledge, why should I bow down to Krishna? Or it could also Prabhupada explain that it could be dullness or laziness. Everything that takes us away from Krishna, any kind of load, any kind of respect or something, and that represents Shaktasura. So Shaktasura, as we know, it came as a cart. So cart was gonna, and the point was that he was going to kill Krishna. He wanted to kill Krishna, but Krishna with one leg kick, he just killed the demon. So according to Garg Samhita, Shaktasura had a body made of air. He tried to make the cart fall on Lord Krishna's head. Okay, in his previous life, he was a demon, a son of Hiranyaksha named Utkach. He went to the hermitage of Lomash Muni and broke some trees there and was cursed to become bodiless. He had a huge body at that time, but because Lomash Rishi thought if he has a body, he will create disturbance in other Rishi's ashram as well. So he then fell at the Muni's feet and begged for mercy. Muni told him that in the next Manvanta, he would be touched by the foot of the Lord and would be liberated. So this is the mercy of all this. Lomash Rishi and other Munis, Narad Muni also cursed and then blessed different people. So they get very merciful also. But their curse also cannot go wrong. So Krishna, so this Shaktasura came as a cart. So Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has also commented on this pastime. When Lord Krishna was of very tender age, means he had not begun to crawl yet. His hands and legs resembled soft new leaves. Yet simply by touching the handcart with his legs, he made the cart fall to pieces. It was quite possible for him to act in this way, and yet not exert himself very much. The Lord in his Vaman avatar had to extend his foot to the greatest height to penetrate the covering of the universe. And when the Lord killed the gigantic demon Hiranyakashipu, he had to assume the special bodily feature of Narasimha. But in his Krishna avatar, the Lord did not need to exert such energy. Therefore, Krishna's tu Bhagwan Swayam. So different kinds of loads that we carry on our heart, on our head. Like in Bhagavatam, second canto, chapter verse 21 says, the upper portion of the body, though crowned with the silk turban, is only a heavy burden, if not bowed down before the personality of Godhead. Who can award mukti? And the hands, though decorated with glittering bangles, are like those of a dead man, if not engaged in the service of the personality of Godhead, Hari. So this is what happens. A common man, it generally gets puffed up because of his material position, because of his knowledge. Oh, I'm such a scholar, and this looks very silly to pay obeisances to some murti in the temple. Why should I do that? And if somebody is very strong, big bodybuilder, he will say, wow, why should I bow down here? And if somebody is very beautiful, if he has somebody has many followers, he will feel ashamed. Oh, why should I bow down here? What will my followers think? They bow down to me, and so on and so forth. But this is all according to Bhaktivinoda Thakur, this is Shaktasura symptoms. And because of this, we don't bow down, because of this big, heavy load. And it's, and Prabhupada also given an example of like an ass, like a donkey. He carries heavy load from the washerman's house to the river, and back from river to the washerman's house for what? For a little piece of grass that he can get anyway. If he just goes to the field without carrying any load, he can get in the field, but he doesn't. So this is a big load that we are carrying on our heads. For what? To get some pleasure, some prestige in the society, and ultimately it's basically we want pleasure, sense gratification, that somebody should respect me or somebody should give me this. What's the use of all this? And if that doesn't let us bow down to Krishna, it's of no use. In fact, it helps, just like if somebody is carrying a big load on his head and he wants to cross the river. In the middle of the river, now he has only two options: either keep the load and drown, or throw away the load and save himself. So people generally like to drown, but don't let go of that load. Also, it represents laziness. In Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says, therefore, Arjun, surrendering all your works unto me with full knowledge of me, without desire for profit, with no claims to proprietorship, and free from lethargy, fight. So this verse clearly indicates the purpose of Bhagavad Gita. The Lord instructs that one has to become fully Krishna conscious to discharge duties, as if in a military discipline. Such an injunction may make things a little difficult. Nevertheless, duties must be carried out with dependence on Krishna, because that is a constitutional position of the living entity. So laziness, and we become lazy. Morning, we have to get up, means we have to get up to perform our chanting or other services, but sometimes we get lazy. We don't want to do that. But that laziness is an anartha. And if we just study this pastime of Krishna killing Shaktasura, not too many verses. And if we go to Krishna book, if you just pick up Krishna book, it's just few paragraphs. Just read it daily. Then the laziness, anartha, will go away. And then there is dullness. Dullness means we just don't want to understand. We are very dull. And that also goes away. One becomes very sincere and intelligent in understanding Krishna. As Srila Sanatana Goswami has prayed in his Digdarshani Tika, O Lord, dressed in yellow silk, I who am full of love for you, have tied you with the ropes of hearing about you, the ropes of meditating on you, and the chains of chanting your names. Now I hold you tightly, you will never escape. Obeisances to Lord Sri Gopinath, obeisances to Lord Sri Chaitanya Deva. By taking shelter of the jewel of his form, even this dull and foolish person dances wonderfully. Of course, Sanatana Goswami is not dull, but it's basically his realization that I'm dull, I'm a foolish person. But Shaktasur represents this thing, that dullness and foolishness. And it can go away but just by reading this pastime. Simple as that. So this is the Shrutifal. Sukhdev Goswami doesn't give, but Bhaktivinoda Thakur has given that. So all we have to do is just hear these pastimes with full faith and attention. So now coming back to Srimad Bhagavatam, text 18. Ekad aroham arudam laliyanti satam sati garimanam shishoravadum nasehe girikuttavat. One day, a year after Krishna's appearance, Mother Yashoda was patting her son on her lap, but suddenly she felt the child to be heavier than a mountain peak, and she could no longer bear its weight. Dalayanti. Sometimes a mother lifts a child, and when the child falls in her hands, the child laughs, and the mother also enjoys the pleasure. Yashoda used to do this, but this time Krishna became very heavy and she could not bear his weight. Under the circumstances, it is to be understood that Krishna was aware of the coming of Trinavartasura, who would take him far away from his mother. Krishna knew that when Trinavarta came and took him away from his mother's lap, Mother Yashoda would be greatly bereaved. He did not want his mother to suffer any difficulty from the demon. Therefore, because he is the source of everything, he assumed the heaviness of the entire universe. The child was on the lap of Mother Yashoda, who was therefore in possession of everything in the world. But when the child assumed such heaviness, she had to put him down in order to give Trinavartasura an opportunity to take him away and play with him for some time before the child returned to the lap of his mother. So 1-year-old baby. So Mother Yashoda was carrying him, and all of a sudden she felt he has become too heavy. Now this is Krishna, and he did not increase his size either. Krishna was the same size, but he became, as Prabhupada said, he assumed the heaviness of the entire universe. Everything is in him, so he can do anything. So this is also another great example of some people want to put on weight, those who are very thin. Some people want to lose weight, like me, those who are fat. But no matter how much dieting we do, how much exercise we do, how much yoga we do, it's very difficult to go either way. But Krishna, he's Yogeshwara. He can do anything just by his will, just by his desire. He can do anything. And here Prabhupada said, Krishna was aware that Trinavartasura is coming. So many things he covered in his pastimes. So Krishna, on one side, he didn't want Yashoda Maya to get hurt by Trinavarta, and secondly, to get bewildered, to get in a shock mood when Trinavarta is going to pick up Krishna and take him very high up in the air. And thirdly, Krishna himself wanted to go up high up in the air because Mother Yashoda could only lift him maybe 5-6 feet, but he wanted to go way up high and enjoy this ride, free ride he was going to get. So everything combined, and he also wanted to kill Trinavarta. So everything combined. So he just does many things at the same time in one pastime. And then at the same time, he showed he is a Yogeshwara. He can become lighter than the lightest and heavier than the heaviest at the same time. What's difficult for it? Bhumo nidhaya tam gopi vismita bharapidita mahapurusham adabhyo jagata mas karmasu. Feeling the child to be as heavy as entire universe and therefore being anxious, thinking that perhaps the child was being attacked by some other ghost or demon. The astonished mother Yashoda put the child down on the ground and began to think of Narayana. Forcing disturbances, she called for the Brahmins to counteract this heaviness, and then she engaged in her other household affairs. She had no alternative than to remember the lotus feet of Narayana, for she could not understand that Krishna was the original source of everything. See, anything. This is the beauty of devotees. Anytime anything happens, all they do is take shelter of Narayana. By chanting his name, by thinking of him, by performing some yajna, something, some puja, something. They just think of Narayan, that only Narayan you can save us. So devotees don't believe in homeopathy or allopathy. They believe in Lakshmipati. That's all. The mother Yashoda did not understand that Krishna is the heaviest of all heavy things and that Krishna rests within everything. As confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, Maya tatam idam sarvam jagad avyakta murtina. Krishna is everywhere in his impersonal form and everything rests upon him. Nonetheless, na chaham teshavasita. Krishna is not everywhere. Mother Yashoda was unable to understand this philosophy because she was dealing with Krishna as his real mother by the arrangement of Yogamaya. Not understanding the importance of Krishna, she could only seek shelter of Narayan for Krishna's safety and call the Brahmins to counteract the situation. So this is what she did. She only took shelter of Narayan. But here Krishna, he wanted to have his pastime and he wanted to kill the demon. Datyo namna trinavarta kansa bhritya pranodita chakravata swarupena jahara sinam arbakam. While the child was sitting on the ground, a demon named Trinavarta, who was a servant of Kansa, came there as a whirlwind at Kansa's instigation and very easily carried the child away into the air. Now Krishna became very heavy for Mother Yashoda to carry him. He assumed the heaviness of the whole universe. But when Trinavarta came, he became the lightest. So Trinavarta could carry him. Krishna's heaviness was unbearable for the child's mother. But when Trinavartasura came, he immediately carried the child away. This was another demonstration of Krishna's inconceivable energy. When the Trinavarta demon came, Krishna became lighter than the grass so that the demon could carry him away. This was Ananda Chinmaya Rasa, Krishna's blissful, transcendental pleasure. So Trinavarta, he came at the behest of Kansa, instigated by Kansa. Now, how did Kansa know? How did Kansa know that Krishna is the one who's going to kill me? So somehow he had this idea because first of all, Putana was killed and Kansa got the news. This is some super ordinary child. He's not an ordinary. He is divine child. So then he sent Shaktasura, and then he sent Trinavarta. Of course, it is also mentioned that Bhagavatam only speaks of few important or major demons who came to Vrindavan or Gokul or Nanda. They could not enter Nandagaon, but whenever Krishna was there in different places near Nandagaon, it just mentions few demons. But it's also said some places that every day Kansa would send 2 or 3 demons. Every single day. And when Krishna grew up along with Balramji and his cowherd boyfriends, every day before lunch they would kill all these demons. and then they would enjoy their lunch. Of course, when Krishna was little in the house of Mother Yashoda, not before lunch, but any time they would come and Krishna would take care of them, kill them. So as we know, we read earlier that Krishna came back to Mathura when he was 11 or 12 years old. So for 12 or 11 years, every day, couple of demons he had killed. So many demons he killed. But this would, yes, it would put Mother Yashoda and other elderly gopis, gopas, and the Baba in lots of anxiety. But then when Krishna would come out victorious, killing the demons, they would all be happy, and the parental love, parental affection would increase in many, many times for Krishna. So these are the pastimes he performs with many, many angles. He also enjoys, and asuras get liberated, get killed also at the same time, and everybody in Vrindavan, their love for Krishna would increase tremendously after going through these pastimes and these emotions. Gokulam sarvam avrinvan moshna shunshirenu bhi iriyan sumahaghora shabdin pradisho disha. Covering the whole land of Gokul with particles of dust, that demon acting as a strong whirlwind covered everyone's vision and began vibrating everywhere with a greatly fearful sound. Trinavrtasura assumed the form of a whirlwind and covered with the dust storm the whole tract of land known as Gokul, so that no one could see even the nearest thing. Muhurtam abhavad Goshtham Rajasa Tamsa Vritam Sutam Yashodana Pashyat Tasmin Yastvati Yataha. For a moment, the whole passion ground was overcast with dense darkness from the dust storm, and Mother Yashoda was unable to find her son where she had placed him. See, also in the shloka it says Rajasa Tamasa Vritam. So the whole area was covered with Raja and Tama, means mode of passion and ignorance. So mode of passion and ignorance can only cover devotees like Mother Yashoda for a while, because she could not even find her own son, who was Krishna himself. So this is how sometimes passion and ignorance become in front of us. Even if we have Krishna in front, even if we are taking darshan of deity of Krishna in the temple, but sometimes mode of passion and ignorance becomes so great, we cannot see Krishna. We cannot see as He's there, Supreme Personality of Godhead Himself is there. So this demon, he represents this passion and ignorance also. So then what happens? When we take shelter of Lord Narayan or take shelter of holy name of Krishna, then slowly this passion and ignorance goes away. Na pashyat kaschan atmanam param chapi vimohita trinavarta nisrishtabhi sharkara abhirup drutaha. Because of the bits of sand thrown about by Trinavrta, people could not see themselves or anyone else, and thus they were illusioned and disturbed. So this passion and ignorance, this is what it does. We cannot see ourselves properly, or anyone else. We see only their bodies, not the souls. And thus we become illusioned and disturbed. Iti khar pavana chakra panchvarshe sut padvim bala vilaksha mata ati karanam anusmarantya yashochat bhuvi patita mrit vatsaka yatha go. Because of the dust storm stirred up by the strong whirlwind, Mother Yashoda could find no trace of her son. Now could she understand why? Thus she fell on the ground like a cow who has lost her calf and began to lament very pitifully. So When we cannot see Krishna, when we cannot chant His holy name, when we cannot do any devotion service, we have to lament. Not that we should enjoy, oh, okay, I can take it easy now. No. Lament very pitifully. Oh, Krishna, take shelter of Krishna, Krishna's holy name. Or sadhus or Prabhupada. So please give me the right vision. Ruditam anu nishamya tatra gopyo grisham anutaptas dhiyo ashru purna mukhya rurudur anu labhya nanda sonum pavan uparat panshu varsha vege. When the force of the dust storm and the wind subsided, Yashoda's friends, the other gopis, approached Mother Yashoda, hearing her pitiful crying. Not seeing Krishna present, they too felt very much aggrieved and joined Mother Yashoda in crying, their eyes full of tears. This attachment of the gopis to Krishna is wonderful and transcendent. The center of all the activities of gopis was Krishna. When Krishna was there, they were happy, and when Krishna was not there, they were unhappy. Thus, when Mother Yashoda was lamenting Krishna's absence, the other ladies also began to cry. Also, to think of it in modern terms, when Krishna, because see, Krishna is the ultimate controller. Nobody controls him, he controls everybody. So when we hear of the Krishna's temple is broken, Krishna's deity is broken, or Krishna's deity is taken away, of course we felt very bad, very, very bad. But this is also because of us being in passion and ignorance. That's when it happens. So we have to purify ourselves. If I'm not saying we should be lazy in our services, that we just studied about Shaktasura. We should not be lazy. We should be there to serve Krishna, to protect Krishna at every cost. But even if after that, the deities are not there or somebody breaks the deities, means we are in passion and ignorance. Those who are breaking, they're definitely below ignorance. That's nothing to say about them. But we are. So we have to qualify ourselves. We have to make sure we are serving Krishna properly, the more, at least in goodness, if not beyond. And Krishna will stay. Krishna will definitely bestow his mercy. And how long Trinavarta can take Krishna away? We'll see. I mean, of course, today there's no time left, but we'll read tomorrow. Not for too long. And Krishna himself killed Trinavarta and came down. So Krishna was performing his pastime and he was enjoying his pastime. But at the same time, we have to understand, if Krishna goes away, it doesn't mean anybody can kill Krishna. It only means we have to qualify ourselves. We have to cry that Krishna, where are you? I'm at fault. My service is not proper. If I cannot chant Krishna's name properly, we have to cry, Krishna, Guru, please give me attachment to chanting the names of Krishna properly. And when we lament like that, true lamentation, Krishna will definitely reciprocate. Just like other gopis came, Krishna can send other sadhus, other devotees to take care of us. But we have to understand where we are and what do we want. So then Krishna, with Mother Yashoda, obviously, he is playing his pastime. But with us, we have to purify ourselves. Mother Yashoda is completely pure. She's eternal mother of Krishna. But with us, we have to purify ourselves. So I guess we can stop here. See anybody has any questions or comments. So you all have a safe and wonderful day. Hare Krishna. Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna.